Hey everyone, so this is a different video, a little bit longer, but I found a forum post that I thought was really interesting regarding Revit families with grip handles, and I just thought it'd be a really cool use case for me to demonstrate a few of the 3D grip handle things and model line grip handles from an AU class that I taught back in 2018, 2019. So I just recorded a video thinking about it, working through it, just tossing out all my thoughts as I modeled it and revised the family that the user had. I thought that was some really cool information, so I figured why not edit it together, post it on here in its full length for all of you to see. So hopefully you get something from it. Once again, just a mind dump while I'm working through revising a family that I found on the forum. So let me know below if you want to see more videos like this, but I thought it was too good not to share. So yeah, feel free to check out the rest of this video, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. All right, so here we are in this countertop family. So the purple one is going to be the original and this blue one will be the modified one. So that's how we're going to track this. This being a detail component, I'd probably handle it a bit different. So I would end up using something like masking regions for this. That way all of these dimensions can live within those masking regions themselves. That way they don't start to interact with other things like model lines can. Model lines have references, so not a reference, weak reference, or strong reference. That's why some of these things start to move together, as they get these locks in them that we don't necessarily see sometimes. So you can actually reveal some of that, but these dimensions are hitting each other. It's just one of those things that kind of happens. Right offhand, one of the first things I would do is I would make sure my reference planes are what are the primary drivers of this. So counter back's good. We don't want this to ever move, so I would end up just making it, since it is pinned, I'd make it not a reference in this case for my workflow. And then I would go through and start to map the rest of this out. And just to keep it simple here, I'll leave this middle one in. I'm going to draw some reference planes for my left and right geometry. That way I have the overall boundaries defined pretty quickly. And once again, I'll just extend them out quite a bit. That way I can see them easily. So now we have left and right defined. For now, we can go ahead and make like a center one. So we'll just put it roughly center. That way I know where that island's going to be. And then we're going to just wipe this out and start fresh. In this case, we have our left and right. Those are good. And then we have our bottom. You can name these to whatever you want, but this will be our origin definer here at the bottom. Another thing that I would do is I would actually have a reference line in the middle instead of a reference plane. So I would end up drawing something like this, have that as centered as I could. And then I would make this reference line actually be the island depth. So if we go to island depth, that's now the island depth. From there, you can actually draw your model lines. So I'll tab select these. Let's delete this. I'll tab select your model lines and I'll say edit work plane, and we're going to assign them to the reference line. And that's that way the reference line can move that thing around independent of everything else we're going to do. So before we do that, let's go ahead and move this to where it's centered. And now we can assign that as the work plane for my model lines. So you can see these move with that. So that's the power with that. I did mention that I will use masking regions, so we can actually modify this to do that. So if we go to create masking region, I'll make sure that I do pick a plane, tab select those, and there we go. And then we'll get rid of those original model lines. We'll make sure that my masking region is hosted to that reference line, the plane. That way it does move around. And now as we change things, it's going to move that masking region for us for that island depth, etc. For the width, that's a instance parameter. I can do this right within the masking region. I'm going to equal it out, and then I'm going to add an overall dimension. And that should be island width, which I think is a type parameter, yes. Cool. So that's going to move in that way as well. So now we're moving around the island and we're changing the depth and width. It's 6, 1, and 2, 3. So we'll just go ahead and use the values that are already in the family. And I'll jump back in the sketch here. That way it's mimicking what you already had. So that's good from there. I'll save. Blue's modified, purple's original. And then now we can start to map out the rest of this stuff. So these legs are going to be something that we can control with the grip handle. So that would be another kind of thing that we can use. So we'll do a line. We'll draw a line just whatever depth for now, because we're going to do some locking later. We're going to make this a strong reference. That way we get a grip handle for that. And this one should be counter depth left, I think. Cool. Maybe it wasn't depth. It might be arm length left. So that's what that is. I'm just going to start a new blank project just to test these in. So I'm going to load my modified family in this project. And we can see that we have a grip handle and it's not moving that thing around, which is what we want. So that's good. So that one's good from there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'll just do a copy. Similar on the dimension. And this one is counter arm length right. And these are instance parameters. So that one moves independent. So those both move on their own. So we're good there. And then we're going to have a few other depths in here as well. So I'll do line. Let's make sure that our reference levels still are plane. Something to keep in mind. I'll just draw this down and overshoot it. Down and overshoot it. These are also going to be strong reference. So all of these are strong reference because I want grip handles for them. And I think, is your depth parameter? It's a type parameter, so I take that back. We're actually not going to do them for this one because it's a type. Is this one a type as well? Yeah. So these are just going to be controlling our masking region. So we'll do create similar on a masking region. We're going to align and lock. So we're going to click this little lock icon right here. Trim it. That way those edges stay put. We'll draw this out. I'm going to draw it lower because I'm going to do an align and lock, I think. We'll just mimic the shape right now. Cool. And then we'll create a line over here. Trim it. DI for dimension. Reference plane. That one's going to be our depth. And let's double check what you have. Counter depth left and counter depth. So that one's 2 feet. That one's probably 2 feet as well for now. Those are good. And then this one's counter depth, just in general. So if you'll notice, I am snapping to my reference planes for all of this, except for that ending dimension. That should be 2 feet as well. These legs aren't locked yet. That's why they moved. So that's something to keep in mind. These dimensions at the outside are going to give us our grip handle. In order to actually shift the sketch, I'm going to add another kind of duplicated dimension within the sketch. So I have the counter arm length right. That's going to be replicated in here, and the same thing for the left. So we replicated that within the sketch itself. I'll leave those kind of off in space right now, and we'll look at how this works in a project real quick. So you can see I have 2 grip handles now that are being controlled by model lines. What's really great about this is the counter depth parameter should not, we'll see, it should not modify those because those aren't within the sketch, they're outside of it. So that's one thing that I really like to use that for. We do see that we have the little overhang, which kind of bugs. So what we are able to do, which is fun, is we'll drag this out, a L on our keyboard for align, and we'll actually align to the masking region and lock it. Another thing we want to do is make this invisible. Cool. And then we'll just go ahead and align and lock this other side as well. So now that's invisible. So if we load this in our project and take a look, we can see that I have that grip handle now. And then if I were to change those depths, which are type parameters, that grip handle will stay centered, which is really nice. So that's pretty cool. All right, so now we'll jump back to the blue one. We'll do the same over here. I tend to just overshoot just so that way it's a little clearer to me. We'll make this an invisible line as well. It's a strong reference. Lock it to the masking region, lock it. Cool, and now that one's good to go. I'll save and load it and test it. So now we have those little legs going and all that. Now we need to make this move in the middle. We should have the depths and all that stuff going. So let's see. Island depth and island width should work. Yep. Yeah, because those are based on that masking region, so we're good. Back in our family, how did you have this? You had island offset right and left. That's okay. I would probably go another route with it to where I actually just use one overall distance. That way I'm not trying to work between the two. So I would end up using this reference line that we have in here to work with that. So in this case, I would end up doing a dimension from the left to the right. We'll go from here to the reference line. And then I think, what was it? It's island offset left and right. I would just end up making a new parameter called island offset. That way you can drag it. You can do some math too to make it centered or something. I'll make it an instance and that should work now. So if I go back to my project, this yellow file, I have that grip handle now to drag it left and right. I would add another parameter in here that's like equals. That way it just stays equaled, which is nice. But yeah, we should see that everything moves around one another now, which is fun. So you can adjust like that. You can add reporting dimensions or whatever. So yeah, and then there is a visibility for island, another parameter that we'll assign. So for my masking region, visibility, island visibility. The next thing I'll do is another reference line, and we're going to just draw it right here in the middle of this. So let's shoot a little short here. We'll edit the work plane of this, and we're also going to assign this to the other reference line. That way they're effectively driving each other. This one's going to be for island offset. This one would be island offset depth maybe. I think you had an island offset back in here. We could just use that for now. But yeah, so we have that in here as well, and we're good there. That line will move left to right, which is good, but we can notice that it's not really moving how we want otherwise. So we do need to fix that too. So what we'll do, we can use this reference line, or we can actually offset that one, I think. So let's take a look real quick. So reference plane to reference line endpoint, island offset back, and that should actually work. Because now we're constraining to that endpoint of that reference line. This depth is driving that way, and we're good there. So that reference line's a little superpower here in this family. We'll change it to 3 feet, and then we'll load it back in our project. Cool. And 3 feet evidently was low, so I will have to fix that. Island offset back. Cool. You'll notice we don't have a grip handle, and that's because we're hitting the endpoint. So that's the downside with that interaction there. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll do another line, another model line. So I'll draw it below. We'll make it a strong reference, invisible line. We're going to go ahead and constrain this to the masking region endpoints. So like before, that way that grip handle stays centered. And then we'll also just align it to the edge of we won't align it, take that back. We'll add a secondary dimension that drives this now. And we're also going to tie it to that island offset back. That way they just drive each other. So they're just piled on top of each other, which is okay, but they will drive each other now. And that was a strong reference. We're good. Load into project. And we should have a grip handle on the back now. So now we're moving this all around. We have that going. Everything's working independent of one another. I am getting a left grip handle for that left reference plane, so we'll fix that next. But yeah, that's working pretty well. That left grip handle is from right here, and that's because of the island offset. So we're going to change the left reference plane to not a reference. We'll load it back in. And we should only have grip handles for what we want now. So this thing kind of moves all independent of itself, which is pretty cool. The last little bonus thing we can do is add an equality. So if you always want this island to be equal, we can do that too. So what I would end up doing is we do have an overall width, I imagine. So we'll go here, counter width. And if this were to change, hopefully nothing else breaks. But yeah, so we're good there. The counter width is a parameter. The island offset is a parameter. And I would add a kind of checkbox parameter that says center island. Maybe make it instance if you want. You can do what you want there. make it a yes, no. We'll leave it under other for now. And now we have center island. By default, I want it off. And then we'll look through and we'll get rid of parameters we don't need now. But island offset is going to be the one that we're going to drive that with. So let's go ahead and click OK. That's our instance parameter. So we have that in there now. Island offset is the one that we're going to use to control that. And this model line is okay. It's just, I can't add visibility to it. So we got to get a little more creative once again. So we're going to do another line. As you can tell, I really like model lines for this. Make it invisible. Make it a strong reference. And we're going to change a few things. So island offset, we're actually going to have this as a constraint now. So we'll go to constraints. And I tend to name things constraint to indicate as such. And that'll be the one that we default to for equals if we want. Otherwise, we can just use it. So that constraints what drives left and right. We'll dimension from this reference plane. We'll do a new parameter called island offset, and now that drives that model line. As you can imagine, we're going to snap this model line to our masking region to make sure that it's centered. And now as we change that, that changes the model line. It's not changing that yet, and that's because we haven't assigned it. So where this comes into play is we're going to do an if statement. So this island or center island rather is going to be what drives something. So if center island, if that's true, we're going to use counter width divided by 2. If it's false, we're going to use island offset. That's our formula for us to use. So now it's going to use this dimension right here if it's off, and then it'll center it if it's on. Additionally, we can hide that grip handle if it's centered. So I'll show that real quick. So we'll load this in the project. And we have our grip handle right now working, that centered one, which is really cool, up and down. If I hit center island, it'll center it within it, but we do still have our grip handle because now it's not being used. What's really cool is we can actually hide that grip now. So this is where that power comes in with using this method. So what we'll do is we'll click on that model line and we're going to assign it to a new visibility. So island center grip. We'll make it an instance. We're going to put this under visibility. And then we want this to not be showing if the center island's on. So we're going to do not center island. So that will be the inverse of that. And that's really cool because now if I load this back in the project, my island is centered and I don't have that middle grip handle, and it will stay centered as I work with this now. So that's what's really fun about that. If I want to be able to move that independent though, I just turn off the center island, I get my grip handle back, and I can just move it now. Really cool way to work with model lines in that way. So centering the island or not and all that stuff. So that's how I would go about this. I know it's a detail component. These same ideas work for a model component. It could work for if you just use line work as well. I would really encourage you, if it's a detail component, just to use a masking region. You have your reasons for it being a detail component, and that's fine. But yeah, this is kind of the way I would go about this. So I hope that helps out. And yeah, this island visibility, we can also assign that to the other grips as well. So let's fix that real quick here. And we actually want our other grips to hide as well. So what we would do is, let's get this offset, something that makes more sense. And this one is actually going to be assigned to that grip handle or to that reference line, I believe. Yeah. So this grip right here, island offset back, there's going to be a model line here that's a strong reference. We'll assign this visibility to island visibility as well. And let's see how that worked out now. Because what we're trying to do is if you turn off the island, we don't want a grip handle floating. So yeah, we'll also have to hide that center one. So that one's already assigned. So we have to do an OR. So island center grip is not if center island is on. So what we can do, let's see. or not. Let's see. I think what we can do, and I'm just working through this as I think about it, if island visibility is on, we're going to tie it to not center island. Otherwise, we want it to mimic island visibility. Let's drag this out. We can see the whole darn formula. And that should work. So center island should turn it off. Off. Yes. So that should be good. Apply. Okay. Load back into project. Cool. So now we don't have it, but if I turn on center island, we still don't have it until I turn on my island visibility. So that's working exactly how I want. So the Revit family is attached to the post for you to deconstruct, but I thought this video would help talk through my thoughts on it, how I handle some of these things, and go from there. I would actually take this a step further. I won't do that in this video, but if you drag it too far left, it will break eventually, which is just not the coolest thing. So I would end up adding another reference plane that moves with the overall width or something way off to the side. That's not required though. It's just one of those things. But yeah, this should move all independent. You should be able to center it now, move it up and down, move the legs independent, and also change all sorts of depths. So counter depth 3, the counter depth right 3, all this stuff's just moving how you would expect it to, which is really cool. So once again, I'll save the family, send it over, attached to the post. I'll get rid of some of the parameters we don't need anymore. And yeah, I hope that helps out.